4 swords to plowshares. And I guess 3 Vendilion clicks and 3 chases.
Is he spell snaring or anything like that?
No.
Or?
Nope, he's just Force of Wills, plows, Vendilion clicks, and chases.
Here's
and
a green deck
Wastelands.
that's not playing Tarmogoyf.
And Wastelands. Yeah, he does not have Tarmogoyf. A lot of the Bant is usually the color combination that won't have Tarmogoyf, you know? Like,
and I mean,
if there's
big
one.
enough. Like, if you need to go big.
He does have Bajuka Bog in his sideboard, which helps make this Knight of the Reliquary a much more dangerous threat.
Especially, I mean, against these Reanimator decks, if Alex loses game 1, he's able to go, like, Hierarch, Knight, and then he puts his opponent in a pretty awkward spot.
And he also has Purify the Grave, Path to Exile, and Meddling Mage, as well as Spell Pierce. So he's got a ton in the sideboard.
Yeah, so games 2 and 3, he's got much more of a chance.
But game 1, I think game 1's probably going to be a little rough. But we'll see. So Tony opens it up, fetching blue mana, in anticipation that Alex Bertoncini is the type of guy who always plays Wastelands. He is correct. Alex Bertoncini always plays Wastelands. Plus he has a dual win in his hand anyway, so it doesn't matter. So, turn 1 Careful Study. He's going to surely discard a robot. Is that Elish Norn?
It is Elish Norn.
He's probably anticipating Merfolk.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just his only monster. Yeah, because he discarded a land. But, yeah. Alex just plays a land, ships the turn. And now we're presumably going to see a turn 2 Elish Norn.
Which Alex can just, like,
Alex,
swords.
yeah, it's not the end of the world. He could Jace it. He could Swords it. It's not the fastest clock. Tony's probably a little bit wondering why Alex played a Tropical if he still has him on Merfolk. But I mean, like, this is just his line. Now, Tony has a Forcible to protect his Elish Norn.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, this is obviously, this is a pretty big game. Shouts out to MTG trader himself, John Medina, the MTG trading card wizard who predicted Elish Norn. He was one of the very first people to predict that both Elish Norn and Jin Cataxius would be universally played in Legacy. So, Force of Will, the Swords to Plowshares. Alex responding with a Brainstorm, presumably looking for a Force of Will of his own. Try to force the issue here.
And, I mean, that Brainstorm only got him 1 card deeper than he already knew about.
So you're not actually sure he should have blew it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's
You
worth
think maybe
it
you
there.
just wait
like,
and try to dig to a plow next turn?
Like, it's not a very fast clock. Like, you could even, you know, Brainstorm, like, your next turn and then Stoneforge or something. And, like, Stoneforge will die to state-based effect, but then you just, like, search up your JIT and, like, get an extra card to Brainstorm away for your next Brainstorm. And...
Well, you can't... Yeah, because you got to remember, Elish Norn keeps Stoneforge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just dies to state-based effect. You still search.
Right.
So you still, like, get the card, which is for Brainstorm value. And, you know, he's not really interested in putting a clock on it just yet. He just needs to Swords to Plowshares that thing.
He does have a Knight of the Reliquary in his hand, but he has not drawn a fetch line yet. So the Knight can't even get anything started, you know, because of Elish Norn. Elish Norn's probably the best 7-drop in Magic's history, right?
Cruel Ultimatum?
No, for creatures.
For creatures?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd say so.
Like, there's Angel of Despair is a good one. So, Jace bounced the Elish Norn. A very, very strong play by Alex. Tony doesn't really have a ton of answers to a Jace that's already resolved. I mean, he has 1 Inkwell Leviathan. So, he has an Inkwell Leviathan in his deck. So, Entomb is live.
Yeah. Inkwell Leviathan is extremely
Terastodon.
important. If you want to beat Jace people. That's why I was really surprised when the last person we watched playing.
Well, he had Terastodon instead.
Yeah,
Which also does it in a way, but it definitely doesn't help them if they have 2, you know? Like
if they have like another one in their hand. And Inkwell kind of just locks it up. Alright, so anyway, Alex is able to cast a Noble Hierarch and a Knight of the Reliquary this turn because he's no longer under the lock of Elish Norn here.
Yep. I think you're right. The Elish Norn wasn't, you know, super high impact. It wasn't like it put a fast enough clock on him. It wasn't like Jin Cataxius worth mind twisting it, you know? Right, and drawing a million cards.
And in fact, because he used Reanimate to return it to play, it kind of hit him for just as much.
Absolutely. His life total, I mean, he's on a 2-turn clock from the board, right?
Oh, he like earthquaked
Facing
an empty
Jace.
board for 7 or 8, right?
Yeah, I think this one is in favor of Alex. Often people with Force of Wills, Jaces, and Plows do all right against Reanimator, if only because of the fact that Iona doesn't lock you out. He's got both ways covered. He doesn't have a ton of meaningful interaction, but he has some. And the fact that he's about to board in, this is supposed to be the hard game. He's about to board in Bojuka Bog, multiple Purify the Graves, 3 Path to Exiles, 4 Spell Pierces, 3 Meddling Mages. It's going to cut a lot of these creatures and a lot of these, like some of the janky, like he doesn't really need a Jite and stuff, you know? But
Jite is not the greatest thing ever against Reanimator.
Yeah, after sideboarding. But so Alex has a Knight of the Reliquary, 2 Noble Hierarchs, a Jace, another Knight of the Reliquary, 6 land. His opponent, nothing but land. Kind of locked out right now. Jace just, until he sets up Entomb.
And his opponent's going to pack it in.
Yeah, the 2 Knights made too big of a clock. He doesn't have Blazing. Oh yeah, he does have Blazing Archon, but it doesn't matter because of Jace.
So Alex wins pretty decisively there. Tony did not have the right creature to put into his graveyard.
I think Jin Gataxias, or Iona, or Inkwell Leviathan would have all been good enough. Blazing Archon, Sphinx of the Steel Wind, and Elesh Norn all would not have been good enough. And that's the problem with Careful Study, right? Like, it doesn't give you the one you want all the time.
The deck definitely suffers from not having Mystical Tutor, not having access to it.
What do you think about Limdol's Vault in decks like this? That's a card, it always comes up, but it does cost 2, and you really want to be reanimating by turn 2 already.
Is turn 3 really the worst? Limdol's Vault's kind of a sweet card.
Stuff on one of the cards that it goes in and out, but most of the time it's out. Most of the time we always talk about putting it back in though. Because I think an awful lot of people just don't even try it. But it is admittedly pretty slow.
Yes, it's slow, and it's not... It's certainly not Mystical Tutor.
It's nice that it lets you power through things. Like lots of the time it'll let you go threat, like it'll let you set up against a control deck, whereas Mystical Tutor's awful against counterspells. So often, Limdol's Vault will let you set it up just right, where you can get your land first, so you'll have enough spells, or enough mana to protect your spells, and then you'll have multiple threats in a row. Or you'll know when to shuffle your deck. You'll get you get 3 good cards or 2 good cards, and you shuffle your deck.
A lot of the time you can put like Careful Study on top, and then have it like lead you into your reanimate spell and your thing that you need to reanimate.
No,
so
absolutely.
It's a double tutor.
Yeah, or Brainstorm does that too, sort of. Like
yeah. It's like if you brainstorm into an Entomb and a reanimate or something. So it can set those types of things up. Also, actually, maybe it's just really awesome. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking that it's just really good.
Seems sweet. It's really nice that it is a Vampiric Tutor. It costs a lot more life, but it is a Vampiric Tutor for the purposes of finding bullets in your sideboard. So one of the strengths of Reanimator was always before, you could play one of a bunch of different cards and find it with Mystical Tutor, so you'd always have the right card at the right time. Now, of course, without that, the sideboard is, 3 Spell Pierce, 3 Echoing Truth, 3 Pithing Needle, 4 Show and Tell, and then just 1 Angel of Despair and 1 Jin Gataxias to allow them. All these Reanimator decks, they always have a couple creatures on the board to adjust their creature selection to be more appropriate for their opponent. Jin Gataxias being the he's just good against everybody kind of card. Like if you have somebody who's just dead, you can always get an upgrade. And then Angel of Despair in case you actually have to get rid of a permanent. It is interesting though that he's using Angel of Despair and not Terastodon. What do you think about that?
I don't know. Terastodon can deal with a whole bunch of stuff on the table.
Angel of Despair hits creatures though.
That's true.
But I don't know. Terastodon's a more powerful card, and Terastodon is a 1-turn clock a lot of the time if you just get yourself.
Side note, you know what creature I kind of want to play as a 1 or 2 of and try in the Legacy deck?
What's that?
Stillmoon Cavalier. Just thinking about him recently.
Stillmoon Cavalier? Aren't you worried everyone's going to curse the Death's Hold you after yesterday? No, why do you like Stillmoon Cavalier?
It has some really important protections. It has protection from white and black, which seem
Pro-white
awesome.
is fantastic right now. And then pro-black, yeah.
You can pump him. Yeah, you can make him fly, so he's basically unblockable because he can first strike away any other flyer that's played in the format. I don't know. It just seems like it'd be a cool card. don't know why that popped in my head.
No,
But
it's
share
an
that with
interesting
you guys.
card.
You guys at home, maybe you could tweet in and tell us, what do you think about the idea of Still Moon Cavalier as a 1 or 2 of a legacy deck? I feel like it accomplishes a lot of the goals that you want cards to accomplish in the current state of things.
See it? So, going into game 2, Alex Bertoncini leads. Tony Murata, Alex on Bant. Just Bant good stuff, Stoneforge Mystic, Chase the Mind Sculptor. Not playing Green Sun Zenith, so he's definitely more of the blue-white splash Knight of the Reliquary. Kind of really surprising he's not playing Green Sun Zenith, actually. And he even has one Asali Pride Mage, but he does not have the Dried Arbor Green Sun Zenith package.
That's somewhat surprising. That seems like something that could be really good if Counterbalance picks up. But again, we're pretty close to the West Coast right now, and today does not look like a Legacy tournament that I've been to recently. So
now, do we have a ruling on how many top 8s Alex Bertoncini has? I know Edgar had 15. If anybody at home knows how many top 8s does Alex have, and honestly, let's cut to the chase. How many does Jerry have? I assume Alex and Edgar are higher, right? But it's close.
No, but Jerry always wins.
Jerry has more wins.
Yeah, Jerry has more wins than either of them.
Yeah, Jerry wins a lot. But, Alex and Edgar, I think, are the 2 in the running for most top 8. Plus, Alex had a billion top 8s last season. He was Player of the Year in the SCG Open Series. So, how many top 8s does Alex have in the last 2 years, this year and last year in the SCG Open Series? Can we give it, dude? We should hold this question for. No, I guess it's too late now. But I was gonna say, to have that be, that's too much homework, though.
That's way too much homework. Yeah.
Yeah. The question needs to be more like, how do you spell Alex's first name?
So actually, funny conversation last night. Last night, I was with Edgar.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him how many top 8s he had, and he said 16, and I corrected him. So now 50.
Call. Snap call.
We knew from coverage.
Yeah, he tries to pad it a little bit. Stick one on the. Nobody will know. That sounds about right.
Yeah, well, I think he just didn't
loses track of him. He's got so many trophies just sitting at home. They're just in a pile. Doesn't even know what to do with them.
It's like a John's apartment, like the literal Pro Tour checks in a pile. You've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. He just. It's like occupies one corner of the room, just piles of trophies.
The novelty check pile is very funny. Disheveled for value.
All right. So are we seeing Reanimator Tony sideboarding? He's at 5. I can tell you one thing: when you're down a game against what is probably not an amazing matchup for you,
especially post board,
that gets ugly after boarding, mulliganing to 5 is not where you want to be. Now he's smiling; it's all in good fun. This is going to be brutal. That said, of course, I mean, he's playing like a deck that could very easily just assemble an unbeatable position on the second turn.
Not actual win. I mean, he could have an Inkwell Leviathan in play on the second turn.
Or something, some kind of or Iona.
Jin Gitaxias.
Iona white without enough time or something. Jin Gitaxias is the big one if he just doesn't have the plow. What do you think about Dark Ritual in Reanimator decks? Makes your Entomb draws even better.
I mean, your Entomb draws obviously become insane, but it's pretty narrow.
It opens up Buried Alive.
That's true, and that's a card I can get behind. Ooze the man.
What do you think about Protean Hulk? I mean, it's a different deck, obviously. I'm not talking about with all the robots necessarily. Maybe you play like one Iona or something, but like if you Footsteps of the Goryo and Necromancy, your Protean Hulk.
Protean Hulk's legendary?
No. No, Footsteps, not Goryo's Vengeance.
Not Goryo's Vengeance. Okay.
Yeah, Footsteps just puts it into play and then it dies.
2B and then it dies. Right?
And a turn.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so both Necromancy and Necromancy, you can just cast it as an instant, and then it dies at end of turn.
Yes.
So either way, you get to trigger your Protean Hulk, and it's like a Flash Hulk, but it costs 1+3 instead of 2+0. You know, because you have to pay the Entomb and the Necromancy or the Footsteps of the Gordio. 1+3 is a pretty fast Flash Hulk. It's 2+0 obviously, but Alex has 20 total top 8s at SCG Opens. Unbelievable. And he's got some wins too. Like, he's won quite a number, but that's spaced out over 2 years, of course. Edgar Flores, 15 this season alone. These guys are absolute maniacs.
And Edgar is still not in the lead for Player of the Year.
No. He hasn't won enough of them. You know, he's a lot of top 8s, but he's only won, like, what, 1 or 2? So finally, it looks like Tony keeps a 4-card hand.
And he's going to Thoughtseize.
The quick turn to Thoughtseize. Giving Alex time to brainstorm.
Brainstorm away.
Very tough. It's hard to root against anybody with Jace the Mind Sculptor in their deck, though, so I kind of... Like, I realize Tony mulled the 4, but, I mean, Alex has Jace the Mind Sculptor in his deck, so you know who I'm rooting for.
Brainstorming on turn 1, generally not a good play at all, but when your opponent casts the Thoughtseize, it's very good because you can hide the cards that are important against them. So there is very likely a Purify the Grave on top of Alex's library right now.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that... Maybe Force of Will. It's not clear. Wow. The fact that he didn't play Stoneforge Mystic right here, that tells you he wants both of the top 2 cards. Yeah, and now he's leaving white mana open.
Forever.
Yeah. It's a real tough spot for Tony. He doesn't really have a lot of good ways to power through a Purify the Grave. Another example, though, Innistrad cards changing it up, you know? Like, usually black has an exclusive monopoly on the best, you know, I mean, obviously there's always Torment Scripts and Relic of Progenitus and whatnot, but Purify the Grave definitely opening up a new type of hate that's particularly good, you know, because before he probably would have used Fairy Macabre for this sort of a position.
It's just strictly inferior. Not strictly, but that's wrong word to use. But it is, I believe it to be inferior if you have white in your deck. Unless you're able to search for it and instant speed with some type of survival effect or something like that.
The nice thing about the I was gonna say,
like
if you've got a way to search for
creature or
sure.
something, you know.
Yeah, but the nice thing about the Purify the Grave is that Reanimator decks always have so much discard, and with Fairy Macabre, they can actually go after it, take it out of your hand, and then reanimate anyway. Purify the Grave, they can't even do that. Alright, so Alex has a Knight of the Reliquary active.
With the Pajuga Bargadus there.
Yeah. Floating mana. What's he gonna do in this position?
Okay.
So that shuts off Jin-Gitaxias, Elesh Norn, Iona. That's most of them.
That is most of them.
Alex's deck is definitely, and there's Jace. I mean, obviously Tony's on the mold of 4, but this is.
Yeah, Alex can just.
Alex is attacking him from a lot of angles. So right. Force of Will on the Jace means we still have a game on our hands.
Yeah.
And there's Entomb. Now the Knight is tapped, but Alex has a mana open. He could have just waited.
He could have waited. So Inkwell is definitely the play here, right?
I mean, it can't. Yeah.
Inkwell Leviathan. All right. So
the problem is that even if he has a like Exhume doesn't really work that well because he gets back Vendilion Click, and Reanimate doesn't work that well because he loses the race, and Animate Dead doesn't work that well because he's 1 life point short of the race. It's interesting because Alex didn't crack that fetch land. Animate Dead on Inkwell Leviathan is 1 turn slow.
And that Thoughtseize actually locks him out of the game, right? Then he has no way to win. And not that he really had a way to win in the first place, but
I don't know. Looks like, is this another Thoughtseize?
It's another Thoughtseize. Alex is just mulling it over.
He is going to crack the fish land.
Okay, so...
Presumably another brainstorm to protect his hand again.
Grabs the Savannah.
Or maybe he's just purifying the graving the Inkwell Leviathan right now.
That seems fine. Yep. And that way he gets double purify the grave. Because that's definitely worth more
than any of the other cards.
cards.
Yeah, just a single shot is worth more than any of the cards in his hand. This is looking bad for Tony. Looming doom. Neither reliquary, continuing to grow.
Yeah, I mean, he can turn it sideways now, right? It's 2 turns, just boom, boom. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't count, but assuming that it's, yeah, that looks like it's the signal. 2-turn clock. There's 1 hit.
That's going to drop Tony down to
certainly,
7 here.
Certainly too low to reanimate. Tony only has 1 land. You don't think there's any chance Alex is supposed to wasteland here, do you? Because he could just search up wasteland with his knight.
Just put his opponent on the no land lock.
But it probably just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it matters at all. Why is he casting that Batter Skull? Why not just leave open the...
Leave open a mana?
Yeah, for the Purify. I guess it doesn't really matter.
10 out of 10 for style.
Yeah.
So, Alex Bertoncini defeats Tony Murata. Bant versus Reanimator. Are both players 5-1 now? I believe both players are 5-1.
So Tony was paired down against Alex?
Or no, were they both? I guess I don't know.
They were at table, a very high table number. So.
Oh, it's very possible that they're just, that Alex is now 6-0 and that Tony's 5-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, historically, I mean, Alex top 8's like 1 in 3 Legacy opens, right?
Yeah, so Alex is 6-0,
6-0.
so if he's pairing against another 6-0 this round, he can draw, and then he can draw in the last round, and then lock it up. And even if he's unable to draw one of those rounds, he'll still have it locked up because his breakers will be good enough to make it in.